Yo, 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 what is up, y'all? My name is Rob Donaldson, and welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of Rob's Best Bets, and we are talking about college basketball, baby. It is back in our lives. It's an everyday sport. We have loaded slates. We have so many teams in Division I college hoops, and we dive in on pretty much every single one of them. If you are the first time, tailing these types of bets, or haven't really been a part of our college basketball bets in the past, as you can see from our numbers, we've been very, very strong. Last year was a little bit of a tapered down year, but we still ended up profitable. And when you look at our past record as well, it's been very, very successful. And I've been handicapping this sport since 2017, 2018, that season. And when you are kind of diving into college hoops, you really need to be ingrained. And I've been fully ingrained. And with all that being said, y'all, I do want to give out those picks, but first, of course, we've got to shout out our boys over at Underdog Fantasy, and if you aren't already, signed up over there, use promo code ROBDFB. This is the perfect time, whether you're into the NHL, or NFL, or college football, or NBA, or college hoops, there's daily pick'ems, there is daily fantasy, there's something for really everybody over there, and if you use code ROBDFB at sign up, they will match your deposit at a very nice rate as well. And with all that being said, y'all, I'm chomping at the bit. Let's get into these picks. All right, first up, we are taking a look at a matchup between Charleston and Southern Illinois. This is right at noon Eastern time, so if you're in your office or at work like me, and you want to throw this up on, the side screen or on your phone, this is the perfect game for it, especially because it's going to be on YouTube as well. And we have a brand new head coaching matchup in this one. Scott Nagy is taking over for Brian Mullins at Southern Illinois, and Chris Mack has taken over at Charleston as well. And obviously, that's a return for coaching for Chris Mack, and I do want to buy into this program early on because I think this is the great level for him. He's inheriting a good program. He's bringing in talent. And when you are looking at this matchup for Southern Illinois, I think it's going to be a tough uphill battle for Scott Nagy in year one. And for that reason, I am totally fine laying those 2 points. So let's go ahead and lay it for our first bet of the college basketball season. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a game at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be between Corpus Christi and Purdue. And Corpus Christi is a team out of the Southland that is always near the top of those standings, and whether or not they get the auto bid or not usually comes down to just every other year. And, for this team, they're veteran-laden, it's year 2, and Purdue is going through some big-time changes. Obviously no Zach Edey, but they're also losing a number of guards as well, and it's going to be a little bit of a testing stage, I think, in the early goings here for Purdue. And 22.5 points is just far too many. So let's go ahead and take those 22.5 points here for 3 units for our second bet here on Monday. All right, next up, we are heading out to Kentucky, where we have Wright State taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. And obviously, as we said in the beginning, no more Scott Nagy at Wright State. It's a new regime, and at Kentucky, it's very similar, where they're bringing in Mark Pope to replace Coach Cal. And I think he has some very large shoes to fill in year 1, and I don't think it's going to be a very smooth transition from BYU, where he had built up a team and they were ready to go, and they made a great run into the NCAA tournament last year before getting ousted in round 1. I think it's going to be an uphill battle in year 1 for Mark Pope here in Kentucky. So let's go ahead and take those 19.5 points here with Wright State, and for an extra half unit, let's go ahead and sprinkle that first half money line here as well. For pick number 4, we are taking a look at a matchup between Princeton and Iona. And when you look at Princeton, this is a team that is veteran-laden. They've been at the top of the Ivy League for now 2 seasons in a row. I think they're well coached. I think they're talented. I think they're going to be able to make another run at an Ivy League championship this season and an auto bid for sure. And when you look at Iona on the other side, Tobin Anderson has kind of been up against it, and he has absolutely overhauled this roster. And when I say that, I am not kidding. Every single player on this roster was not on Iona's roster last season. So it's a veteran-laden roster going up against a very inexperienced yet I would say pretty talented looking roster in the early goings here. Now, chemistry might be an issue, and for that reason, I'm willing to lay a pretty sizable number here. So let's go ahead and lay those 12 points with Princeton for 2 units for our 4th pick here on Monday. 4, pick number 5, we're taking a look at a very interesting matchup between Brown and Sienna. And when you're looking at this matchup, Brown has been my team for the past 2 seasons now. They have just been very, very talented in my opinion. When you look at their core, they have retained it. Somehow, I get that it's a prestigious school and it's part of the Ivy League, but when you have this much talent on the court, it can sometimes be hard to retain, and they have absolutely retained it, started by Keno Lilly and Owusu Anya and all these other guys, and, obviously, they lost Kalu Anya in the offseason, but they still have a number of great pieces here, and when you're only laying 2.5 points against Sienna, a team that I think they're far superior against, I am so willing to lay it. So let's go ahead and lay the 2.5 points here for 4 units for our 5th pick here on Monday. 4, pick number 6, we are taking a look at a matchup between Louisville and Morehead State, and obviously Pat Kelsey is now the head coach at Louisville. Thank God. I mean, Kenny Payne, that era was a disaster. That guy looked clueless. When he talked about the tights and how, he just made that comment and acted as if, the media and fans hearing that wouldn't just be absolutely out on the guy. I knew that he was just so clueless. And, Pat Kelsey is one of the smartest head coaches, one of the most strategic head coaches, and one of the guys that can really build up a program and really inject life into it in year 1. And man, does he have a talented roster this year. The biggest question is going to be chemistry in the early going, but I kind of want to try to catch lightning in the bottle with a roster this talented and with a head coach this fantastic. So let's go ahead and take Louisville here, laying the 16.5 points for a large wager of 4 units for our 6th bet here on Monday. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a matchup between Quinnipiac and Yale, and obviously last year, Yale were our boys. We took them in round 1 against Auburn. It was a fantastic win. We took them on the money line at near plus 700 odds, and when you are looking at the roster that they have on paper this year, no more Danny Wolf. He ended up going to Michigan, and that is a sad loss because he was a very talented piece down low. But at the same time, they still have John Poulikaitis, they have Bez Mbang, Nick Townsend. This is still a very talented roster on paper, and I think James Jones is going to have these guys ready to go. Yeah, I do kind of fear a little bit of a letdown year or a letdown early going because of what happened at the end of last season. But at the same time, I feel like this team is just far too talented to let it go and sleepwalk through the early going. So let's go ahead and lay the 9.5 points here for 4 units with the Yale Bulldogs, and let's see if we can make it a magical Monday night. Next up, we are taking a look at a very high-profile matchup, or at least one of the teams in this matchup is being very high-profile and highly billed, coming into the season, and that is Michigan taking on Cleveland State. Obviously, it's Dustin May's opening night. His tenure begins in this game, and he brought over a number of pieces, from FAU, from the transfer portal, and obviously highlighted by Vlad Golden and Trey Donaldson, Danny Wolf, Roddy Gale. I mean, this team is loaded with a lot of talent, and it's just a matter of, again, can these guys gel together right out the gate or at some point in the season? Because on paper, they could potentially be, a top 10, top 15 team in all of college basketball if it goes right. And once again, I kind of want to try to catch lightning in the bottle with the early going talented teams with a talented head coach. And for that reason, I say we lay the 17.5 points here against Cleveland State for 2 units as we head into Monday night. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a very fun matchup between 2 power conference opponents, and that's going to be between Mizzou and Memphis. And, if you know anything about these 2 teams, is there's not a lot of defense being played, and when you look at the talent on paper coming in through the portal or what they were able to retain from last season, a lot of guys who can score a lot of buckets. And I think Missouri is going to be improved this season. How improved is really the question. I still think that Memphis, with everything and the shitstorm that they have going on, I still think they're going to be a talented team. But when you're looking at the total in this game of 152, man, I think this is a game that first one to 90 is going to be the one that wins. So let's go ahead and take that over. Let's take it confidently here for 4 units, and I don't think this one's ever going to be in doubt, guys. All right, for our second to last bet here on Monday, we are taking a look at a matchup between UNC Asheville and Alabama. And Alabama obviously made a great run in the NCAA tournament last year. They're returning a lot of guys. They're bringing in even more talent. Nate Oates has really got one of the best teams in the country at his disposal. And when you look at UNC Asheville and you even look at the Big South in general, they've had a tough time, playing up in competition when they've had to do it, and that's across the board, looking at the depth of the Big South. And now UNC Asheville, as good as they have been over the recent years, that's been with Drew Pember, who has been one of the most productive guys in all of mid-major basketball, and now he's no longer in the building, and that hurts. That really, really hurts, especially with a team like UNC Asheville coming out of the Big South. So let's go ahead and lay the massive number of 24.5 points here, and let's do it for 2 units for our second to last bet here on Monday. All right, for our final bet here on opening night, we are taking a look at a matchup between Towson and St. Mary's, and St. Mary's is obviously a great team that has a great pedigree and has been successful for a number of years here, but Towson, out of the CAA, has also been very successful, and they are veteran-laden this year. They have a number of guys returning, and Pat Scarry, I think, is one of the more underrated head coaches out of the mid-major ranks, and to get 11.5 points here, I think is an absolute gift, but I also think Towson is going to have a shot here on the money line as well. So let's go ahead and take those 11.5 points here for 3 units, and for an additional unit, let's go ahead and take a full game stab at the money line here as well. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and yeah, we went pretty heavy on the opening day card, and I apologize. A lot of units being wagered. I've just been so excited for this sport to be back in our lives, and obviously we will not be going this heavy on a lot of the cards this season, but at the same time, it's nice to get back in the groove of things. I've had a lot of success in the early goings with college basketball in the past, so I do like to jump on the teams that I'm excited about and have been previewing and have been looking into all offseason. And for those who are wanting to also follow my bets on Twitter/X, whether that's, NFL, college football, or even other college basketball bets, I am not going to have a video up for every single college basketball slate. I know some channels are kind of keen on doing that. My channel is not geared for that. My work schedule is also not geared for that. So just as a heads up on that point, if you do want to catch all my bets in this sport, head over to Twitter/X and you can definitely do so. But with all that being said, y'all, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.